Welcome to another exciting episode of Conversation with OCT. Today, we're diving into the world of seamless Web3 experiences with a true innovator in the space, Mayur Relekar, founder of Arcana Network. Arcana is on a mission to make Web3 effortless, introducing groundbreaking solutions like their chain abstraction protocol and the recently launched Arcana Wallet, the world's first chain abstraction wallet. With features like unified balances across chains, gas fee abstraction, and email based crypto transfers, Arcana is reshaping the way we interact with decentralized apps and assets. Mayur and his team are setting a high bar for Web3 UX, making blockchain technology accessible to everyone, even your parents. So let's hear from Mayur about his journey, the vision behind Arcana, and what's next for the network. So, hey Mayur, how are you doing today?
Hey Tanishk, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here. Hi Sahil, good to be here.
Uh, that's nice. It's pleasure to have you here with us today, Mayur. And so, all right, before we dive into the technical stuff, I have a very important question for you. Uh, so, how have you been coping with being a Manchester United fan over the last decade? I mean, it has been a wild ride, hasn't it?
Yeah, I had a lot more hair, and as you can see, it's all going away. I'm starting to gray a lot. I have become very forgetful, so I basically aged significantly in these past couple of years, and this is all thanks to both Manchester United and also the crypto space in general.
Yeah, I can actually understand that. We both are also Man United fans, so yeah, we
Oh,
can actually
great.
relate to that.
I'm going to like this conversation. Good.
All right. So, talking about Arcana Network and you being the founder of it, so what inspired you to actually start Arcana Network and what problem were you actually aiming to solve?
Yeah, so I mean, I got into crypto 2017, and it's because basically that's when back in India, like cryptocurrency exchanges started to become a thing. Um, so it made it easy to sort of on ramp. Back then, nobody cared about on ramp. There was no KYC, nothing. Just deposited your INR and you got some ETH, and then there were a bunch of ICOs on extremely shady websites that where you went and just gave away your money in the hope of getting some token, perhaps months down the line. And so did that. Got in for like the shit coins, but I stayed for the tech basically. That was sort of like the moment was as cliched as it sounds, was actually like sort of skimming through like the Ethereum and Bitcoin white papers, and basically it appealed tremendously to, like, in a philosophical sense. I fancy myself an idealist, and when I started to read all of this stuff about decentralization and removing rent seekers, middlemen, the idea of Bitcoin being this unstoppable network which just ran with an internet connection, and as long as internet was free and available to people, then you could run a Bitcoin node. There's no CEO, there's no off switch, there is no customer service, but it all just worked. That idea like immensely appealed to me, and I think uh, secretly somewhere down I had decided that this is going to be like where I want to spend uh, the good chunk of the rest of my career. And yeah, that's when I started, and we actually started doing a lot of very low hanging stuff in 2018. Back then, it was all about supply chain, provenance of goods, um, international remittance. These were the hot ideas or narratives or metas back then, and we were trying to do stuff there. In fact, our first attempt at doing something was actually building like decentralized YouTube. Looking back now, it sounds dumb as hell, but it's what we sort of what I wanted to do. And in the process of trying to do that, we realized that decentralized YouTube works only with decentralized storage. And then we were like, there's no like really good option. Like IPFS was the only thing, but it lacks like the programmability that you would need back then, and perhaps even now. I mean, there was no protocol, there was no Filecoin, there was no nothing else back then, no Arweave, any of that that made it slightly easier. I think it's still very tough to to do like use decentralized storage platforms. So, but yeah, we started with that. I quit my job. I got a couple of my colleagues to quit their jobs. We founded this company, and we were building decentralized storage. We took a POC to market, and when we did that, we realized nobody cares about decentralized storage. Uh, Centralized storage was more than good enough. And I think that's the case even today. Nobody really cares about it. The only real value add of decentralized storage is censorship resistance, which I don't think most developers care about, to be honest. And yeah, so that's when we had built out a lot of tech and a lot of code, and we were wondering what we should do next. And to us, it became clear that we should leverage our existing code, but play to our strengths, which was essentially removing sort of like complexity and hiding it away in a sense. And that's when we sort of pivoted and launched Arcana and said, we are going to be, front runners in this space when it comes to essentially trying to make things much simpler and, like you said right at the top, more effortless to be able to kind of use stuff in Web3. So that's the goal, that's the mission, that's why we're here. And yeah, this is something that truly motivates us every day to kind of get out of bed and build cool stuff that actually makes the lives of developers and users much easier.
So yeah, talking about easy life, right? So actually, Arcana network is all about, like you mentioned, making Web3 effortless. But for our listeners who might be unfamiliar with chain abstraction, could you explain how it works in simple terms? And how does Arcana's chain abstraction protocol actually eliminate liquidity and user fragmentation?
Yeah, sure. So chain abstraction is this hot new meta. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone suddenly is doing chain abstraction, building chain abstraction. This is something that we started to kind of think about middle of last year. We didn't know what to name it. We were calling it Arcana Credit because we essentially wanted to mimic like credit card, debit card behavior, um, but on chain. And then lo and behold, beginning of this year, there was this hot new meta. Of course, the term was coined earlier by other people, but we realized that the industry is calling this thing that we are trying to do as chain abstraction, and we were like, great, so let's start getting on this thing. But yeah, we've reached a point where they're actually going to be like, there are products out there. We're one of the first, and this is going to become very stark reality that's actually going to like have extremely significant downstream effects. So let me try and explain the best I can what chain abstraction is. There are a bunch of definitions floating around, but in the simplest terms, chain abstraction is essentially a way to allow users to be able to aggregate or unify their asset balances across different chains, right? Like I have some ETH on Base, I have ETH on Arbitrum, Optimism, and I end up with all of this ETH because I'm trying to use apps on all of these different things, right? A way to be able to unify all of these things and say, no, you don't have zero point 0.1 ETH on Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, you have zero point 0.3 ETH in total. And allow the next step is obviously allowing users to be able to spend this unified balance as one. So now I should be able to spend this 0.3 ETH, but they should be able to spend it almost instantly without needing to bridge. So right now, if I had 0.1 ETH on, let's say, Base, OP, Arbitrum, and I wanted to spend it on, I don't know, Polygon, for example, I would have to bridge everything over. 0.1 ETH from this, 0.1 ETH. from OP to Polygon, Arbitrum to Polygon, base to Polygon, and only then I could use it, right? And this obviously means I have to go to a bridging front end. I have to spend monies on for each operation, wait for each operation to happen, and this is like, you know, you, like forget about crypto newbies. This is something that even um, people who are crypto native hate. Like the point is that users do not want to bridge but need to bridge, and this is the truth. And so how do we kind of get past this, right? So we basically started to kind of try and figure out how do we make this happen in our own way. And now, we are seeing all sorts of designs which are pretty much sort of like what we had envisioned like middle of last year. Not much of our design has really changed since then. But yeah, so that's fundamentally it. Unify users' asset balances across different chains, allow the user to spend this as one near instantly without needing to bridge. So the user has no context shift, stays within the app, and is able to spend their unified balances across different chains. So that's how you get to eliminate this fragmented liquidity problem, which exists today and is going to get worse as we kind of start seeing more and more roll-ups come into the picture, app chains starting to become a big thing, alt VMs, alt L1s, all of these things. So yeah.
No, I definitely agree with this. I suffer with this problem every every 14 to 28 days. Every time I have to do this exact same thing. And I think what sticks out to me is that we don't want to bridge, but we need to bridge, right? There is no other option that exists before chain abstraction, that is. And another point that I really liked that you said was this is difficult not just for new people, but even for seasoned crypto people, right? And if we are not wanting to perform this action, we cannot expect new people to understand this thing. And in fact, 4 or 5 years from today, I mean, in the past, I did not know much about different networks or how things were happening. And I tried doing this. I've done this before. Personally, I've done this before, tried spending ETH on a certain network on a different network. And
Hmm.
this is a huge problem, especially to onboard new users. And
Yeah.
I think in the crypto space, we all keep complaining about new retail, whether it be crypto or Web3. New
Yeah.
retail will only enter if there are new users, right? So I think this is a very solid thing that if it gets implemented on in the best way possible, I think it is a very solid thing. And I'd like to add a question to this thing as a follow up. When it comes to onboarding onto Web3, how difficult is it for a new user? Now, we three are sitting here, we've been in crypto for many years. How difficult is it, in your experience, for a new user to get into Web3, start using those apps? And how important is it for the developers to build an onboarding mechanism that does not feel like magic to a new user?
Yeah. I mean, so if a new user needs to use like decentralized applications, which obviously implies at the very least you have to spend for gas. That means you need to at least acquire gas tokens, right? Uh, these are extremely hard things to do. And on ramp to crypto from your fiat is one of the biggest hurdles that we still face. The way this is sort of getting solved is obviously through on-ramp providers and things like that. So there are certain amounts up to which no KYC is required. It's almost like you like making a purchase on Amazon, right? So I do use my Apple Pay, Google Pay, and I'm transferring funds and I'm getting this stable coin. So stable coins are a great way for onboarding new people to crypto, right? So if I provide a service, if I'm doing something, if I have a product that I'm selling, and if I accept stable coins, which I think have clear product market fit, I don't think those are going away anywhere, at least not like the top few stable coins. Um, then I think, we start to see more and more people getting at least hold of this sort of some crypto to be able to start to interact. But these are not gas tokens, right? Now, someone tells me, like, let's say I somehow managed to on ramp to say 50 USDT, right? Either someone gave me, or I earned it somehow, or someone paid me in crypto, whatever it is. I have this now, but someone tells me, hey, there is this new meme coin that is, going to launch, and it's absolutely going to rip. And I'm like, "Arre bhai, yes, I want to go and get that. So what do I need to do? I need to go to a DEX, right? So now DEXs today have great UI, UX. It's quite fantastic. But what I will not know is that I need to spend that ETH, right? To be able to buy this, or I need to spend that soul to be able to buy this. Let's imagine someone paid me USDT on Tron. How the hell am I going to buy a meme coin on Solana with that, right? So these are the problems that exist. Like on ramping to crypto, I think it's like a huge problem on its own. It's not something that one startup can solve. I don't think it's just too broad a problem. I think it needs to be attacked from multiple places, and that's what's happening. And so on ramping to crypto is something that will be an ongoing effort and needs like almost like existential things to change, and that will happen in time. But at least the people who have the USDC, USDT, ETH, Sol, whatever, they should be able to have like a seamless experience across multiple chains, and that's what we want to deliver. And if we do that, I think that's a 10x jump in user experience, and no 10x jump comes without immense downstream effects for the entire industry. So this is what we hope to kind of achieve with the stuff we're doing.
Makes sense. Makes sense. If we, as seasoned users, will be in a place of comfort, I think we have the responsibility then to onboard new people onto the industry. And definitely agreed on the USDT part. I think USDT, and I have always been of this opinion. We've talked about this before, that stablecoins perhaps the biggest innovation since Bitcoin itself. For new users, at least to get onboarded, they know it is money, right? It is as good as money. Just
Yeah,
spend it the same way, right? So yeah,
yeah.
totally agree on that. So Tanishk, if you'd like to ask the next question.
Yeah, sure. Mayur, I have seen your products, like a glimpse of them actually. So they're actually very focused. They're heavily focused on user-friendly design, and how do you prioritize the UX in your development process, and how important you feel uh, the simplifying UX is for broader adoption of Web3 technologies.
Yeah, so I like to say this is that Arcana as a company is in the business of abstractions. That's our
Right.
core business. That's what we do. The idea is to be able to abstract away complexity. In many cases, we are abstracting away complexity that we created ourselves as an industry, right? Gas, wallet, private key, seed phrase, all of these things are like impediments. I mean, necessary technology, but they all solve very core problems. But we can't just sit down and say, people will figure it out. They're not going to. We're seeing it right now. The number of people who are coming into crypto or Web3 to actually use apps nowadays is a trickle. Essentially, like mass adoption is a meme at this point, right? So for us, that's what we aim to do is to basically abstract away complexity. So that obviously starts with design. So we have a clear impetus on design within everything that we do, our processes within uh, like any sort of like product ideation, creation, whatever it may be. We have a very strong design team. Our head of design, he likes to say this is that we have to start with design before we jump into anything else, because design and iteration over design basically helps you to measure twice, cut once, right? So you're doing it, you test it, you do it, you test it, and then you build it, right? So this, I think, sort of approach enables us to really, really, deliver what we think um, through obviously like going back and forth with users, we try to showcase what we built to certain cohorts of users, however small they may be, to kind of get feedback and get to this place where we think that okay, this is going to be great UX. So yeah, it's a core philosophy. We're not going to go away from that. It makes us a little slower when going to market with products, but I think it gives us the much better chance of uh, being more long lasting.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I've been thinking a lot about UX when I got to know, like, we're gonna talk to you, right? So, UX in Web3, I feel honestly, is a lot more important than people think it is, because no matter how amazing your tech is, if people cannot figure out how to use it in, like, I don't know, 30-second stops, maybe they're not going to stick around, like you mentioned. So Web3, let's be real, because this it really has this whole too complicated vibe, I feel. Wallets, private keys, gas fees, like you mentioned. People hear that and they're already out the door. So when you nail the UX part, I feel it does change the game. And when you take away the complicated stuff, and suddenly, it clicks for people. So, I mean, that is actually a good way to onboard more people into Web3 and crypto. Because if you think about apps in Web2, you log in with Google or email, right? And you're in. So, why should Web3 actually be any different? I mean, people outside of the crypto industry, they don't have wallets and stuff, right? So I mean, I feel I know I think Arcana also has this feature of onboarding people with an email or social login, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. We have an SDK that developers can put into their apps. Once they do that, so you can skip the connect wallet sort of like pattern where you expect users to already have a wallet. If they don't have a wallet, then you're going to send them away to another page which says these are the 1,000 wallets available in Web3. You pick one and then come back to this site. No one's going to do that. So for certain use cases, I think especially outside of DeFi, it makes a world of sense where users come and basically use their email, social accounts like they would in Web2 to like do a very familiar sort of login. But our backend, which does some applied cryptography stuff, essentially a distributed key generation scheme, gives the user a non-custodial wallet right inside the app. So now they have a wallet, and they didn't have to meddle with private keys, seed phrases, any of that. This email is tied to this particular wallet address. You can further augment that with a smart wallet where gas can be sponsored. You can start to do all of these things. You can, from within this wallet, you can even on ramp your crypto. You can hit a buy button and basically use your credit card, bank transfer, Google Pay, Apple Pay, whatever, to buy crypto, depending on what region you're in. So yeah, that was the first product we actually launched beginning of last year, and yeah, that's where our like journey of releasing like smart, user-friendly products that hide complexities started.
I've
All right, that's
actually,
yeah.
I've actually, on a very small scale, I've built this same thing back in 2020. I was working on an application and I built this thing of a similar SDK, but for our own native application of making a wallet for the user on the back end, nothing to be shown. There were no SDKs back then, obviously.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
not out. As you mentioned, you released them in 2023. So yeah, that I totally understand that thing, and I'm really happy that now the new developers have such things in the market that you've launched, and it's really powerful. Again, new users don't want to meddle with wallets; they want to just get onto Google or email, and yeah, they'll eventually take a step, baby steps, as we say, right, into the industry.
yeah. No, makes sense. That's our approach. Make it easy. Let people come in. Let them take these sort of like small baby steps, like you said. And once they become a power user, go get your own self custody wallet and start, doing other things. We have a self custody wallet also, which we've launched with chain abstraction features. You guys were mentioning it up top. So yeah, so we're here for the entire funnel of users. We'll help you with email onboarding, on ramping with buying through like your credit card. You take those baby steps, find your way, start fiddling around with like games or Web3 social, or some of the simpler things, and then you make your way up to lending, borrowing, dexes, and perpetual. I don't know what else. So once you get there, we have the wallet also for you.
And another thing that I was going through, I haven't used it, but that was Send It, right?
Yeah,
Sending
yeah.
crypto through email. I have no idea how this works, and I'm really interested in knowing what is going on here. How does this happen?
Yeah, so basically, you get like for you and your audience and stuff like that, you should just go check it out. It's called sendit.arcana.network. It was just a simple app that we released on top of our existing tech, and we wanted to kind of have like this consumer-facing app that showcased our infrastructure, right? As an infrastructure company, this is one of the hard things to do is to actually how do you uh, gain the attention and the mind share of like the average user, right? And the way you do it is by essentially dog fooding your tech and building an application that users can interact with. And so that was the purpose of Sendit. So what Sendit does is once you go into Sendit, you can log in with your email. It'll give you a wallet, or you can connect your existing wallet. That's fine too. You can do that. And once, let's say you figured out, you basically send some money into this new wallet, or you on ramp with your credit card or whatever, and you have some money in here. And let's say you want to kind of introduce a family member, let's say your father, mother, whoever, or that one cousin who keeps bugging you every time there's bull market about zara crypto sikha de yaar mere ko, and things like that. So the way you do it is, the best way to do this is to actually send this person some crypto. But what we realized was one of the big problems is that when you want to send someone some crypto, they need to have a wallet beforehand, right? And then you go into this whole conversation about what a wallet is, what a seed phrase is, yada yada yada, right? That'll take its own sweet time. By then, this person is like, no, I'm good, right? Some will persist, most will not. So we were like, how do we make this simple? How do we solve for onboarding? And then we were like, we can just build this simple app where you come, and if you go to send it, let's say you have some funds, all you need to do is enter an email ID, choose a chain, choose the funds, the amount that you want to send, hit one button, and what it will do is it will generate a link that you can send to this person, or it will send it to their email directly. And once they click the link and log in with that same email that you mentioned in your form, then they will see that the crypto is already sitting there in a wallet that has been created for them. And the way we do this is quite simple, really, is that it works because our tech works in the back end. And so when you enter an email and hit that button, what we're doing is essentially creating this wallet for this user in the back end that is ready to be claimed. And we have to do this non-custodially, like we cannot store a private key somewhere. So we use our tech to be able to do this. So once that like this wallet is created, then you're actually doing a direct P2P transfer. It's not like escrowed somewhere where now the user has to go and withdraw these funds, because withdrawal will also cost ETH to withdraw, or it will cost POL tokens on Polygon, whatever it may be, some gas token. So this is a direct transfer. You paid for the gas to transfer it directly. This amount is already sitting. All this person needs to do is log in with their email, and they have it. Right? So yeah, we launched this middle of last year, and we were hoping to get somehow 50,000 users. That was the goal. Yeah, we got 50,000 users in 6 days. We got 100,000 in 12. Then we were like, yeah, experiment done, fine. But the end of the experiment, we basically had like 500,000 users who had done more than, I don't know, 3 million transactions, I think. So yeah, it just goes to show that if you can simplify something for users and present something with great user experience, people will use it.
Got it.
Uh, Also, I'd like to add another question to that, Mayur, is that you recently launched the Arcana wallet, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, it comes across as the world's first chain abstraction wallet. So, what would you say that it sets apart from other wallets, and like how does it simplify the whole experience for both the Web3 veterans and the newcomers?
I really wish I could do the demo because the demo is, in all modesty, very, very powerful.
Can you?
Because
I think you will be able to present your screen, right?
You can share
can
your screen if you,
Yeah.
can
yeah.
I? Oh, that'd be sick. Let me actually, if I can present it, nothing like it. Let me make sure I have my wallet here. Uh, Present, yes, cool. All right. Yeah, I will present share screen, entire screen. Okay. All right, cool. I love doing the demos. The demos are great. Okay, so here I am. I'm on. Uh, what we've done is basically we built this whole protocol. Okay, I'll explain what it does. But essentially, we've taken the protocol and we've put it into an SDK. The SDK has gone into a wallet. The wallet is essentially a browser extension. It is like your MetaMask, your Rabbit, it's the same thing. It's a standard EOA based wallet, and you install it like how you install MetaMask or Rabbit, and works the same way. It shows up over here within your browser. The difference from this and a MetaMask or a Rabbit is that A, there is no chain selector, right? So there's no chain to select because essentially what we're doing is chain abstraction, right? So we're trying to hide it away. And if you kind of think back to how I was explaining chain abstraction, right? So the first thing is unify the user's asset balances across different chains. So if you look here, I have some USDT, about 18.99 across 4 different chains, right? I have some on Ethereum, Arbitrum, OP, Polygon. And similarly, I have USDC here across 3 different chains. And I also have some ETH across 4 different chains. So now the idea is, how do you allow the user to kind of spend these unified balances? So what we do is, if you go to an app like Aave, right? Let me go to Aave, and I'll go to Aave's, let's say, Optimism market, right? So now I have my wallet connected here already. And what we get Aave to show is actually, if you see here, I have USDT. I have 2.09 USDT on OP. But we get Aave to show the combined balance. If you see here, it's showing me 19 USDT available to supply, whereas I have only 2 on Optimism, right? And now if I hit supply, there is no way I should be able to supply 5 without bridging first. But now if I hit supply, and what we do is we show the user this intent screen where we're saying you are intending to spend 5 USDT on OP on Aave. We show them that you don't have it all on OP, but you have some on Arbitrum. And essentially for a fee, we can make it happen. And now as a user, if I like the fee and I'm okay with this to proceed, I just hit one button. And what we do is this intent of mine will get verified by the Arcana network. And the liquidity that I'm missing on the Optimism side will get collected from my Arbitrum side. And a bunch of solvers will supply me the liquidity that I'm missing on the Optimism side. And once I have it, my transaction to Aave will also get submitted. Everything gets done about 16.5 seconds, one button click. Voila! I didn't even have to change my context here. I remained in context. Everything just got done for me. So yeah, so this is
Oh, really cool.
essentially.
And how do we attach our different wallets onto I mean, let us say Solana or
Yeah.
Ethereum, right?
Yeah, so we've just launched this wallet, I think 2 weeks now. It's in testnet. The wallet is in beta. Our network, our protocol is in testnet. But we've launched, and as you can see, you can use mainnet assets right now. That's perfectly fine. Um, we limit how much you can spend just to make sure, if something goes wrong, we can still reimburse you, and during the testnet phase. But yeah, so right now we support 5 chains and 4 assets. So we support Ethereum, Arbitrum, OP, Base, and Polygon, and we support Ethereum, Pol, USDT, USDC. So we'll be adding many more chains. We have many conversations there. We'll be adding many more assets. We have multiple conversations there. So I think Solana will be one of the next batch of chains that we add. So yeah, the idea is to essentially get to a point where I have ETH across 4 chains, but I want to go to Radium and buy this meme coin using Solana. And how do I do this without bridging one by one, without switching contexts, and doing this in basically minimal number of clicks, and in literally a matter of seconds. So that's the goal that we want to kind of get to with the wallet, with our protocol, with our SDK, and yeah, this is what we want to make possible.
No, very useful, very, very useful. If I keep on switching USDT from Tron to ETH to BEP like all the time, it is happening all the time. Like, okay, wait, I have this much USDT less on ETH, let me send it from Tron. And this keeps happening all the time. This is a very useful thing, especially for us. And I think all the users, again, I can't speak for everyone, but if people like us are using it, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people wanting this very badly.
Yeah, no, precisely. I must have done like, I don't know, 400, 500 demos over the past couple of months. And every time, like, if it's anyone who's done even a little bit of stuff in crypto, it's a joy to kind of see their expressions and realize that, wow, this is a game changer. And, the number of times people have told me, give me this wallet, I will switch right now, is, if I had $1 for every time that happened. But I mean, it's great validation for us. It tells us that we are on the right track. The choices that we have made are appropriate. But yeah, I mean, this is still early stages. There's a lot of scope for designing better and better experiences, making deciding on what trade-offs should be as you go. Obviously, none of this is trivial and easy to accomplish, but requires a lot of time, effort, and thinking. But yeah, I mean, the idea is to make the user experience feel like either they should feel like this is magical, or they should feel like, yeah, I expect this, right? And both are great. Like, either they should be awed by it or feel very familiar. And as long as you achieve that, then that means you've done a great job with UX. And that's the point we want to get to.
100%.
So yeah, I actually loved the way you demonstrated it. I actually also saw a couple of videos on your website of the same, so it was really great to see it live on StreamYard. So actually, like everything is going good. I mean, the vision and the tech are impressive, but I have a few concerns. Because if I look at the price action of the Arcana token over the last few months, it's been well, let's just say it's been a bit rough. I mean, the chart tells a story of its own, and I'm sure the community has noticed this too.
Yeah.
So I can see right after the launch, we saw a typical sharp spike, whatever, driven by the hype or the initial excitement or whatever we call it. But the price corrected quickly and has been on a consistent downward trajectory ever since. So uh, I feel other projects have rallied alongside this current market optimism. Yet, the Arcana token has been moving sideways near a floor with a very low trading volume. So, the question for you here is, what's the underlying issue here? What do you feel it is? Is it the investor sentiment, limited awareness, or perhaps the way you mentioned, concerns about utility or adoption, right? So, because I feel, let's be real, the tech and the vision, I can see that right here. But for many in the space, market performance also plays a big role in how they perceive a project's success. So, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah. So first and foremost, you really know how to let a guy feel right on top of the world and then bring him all the way down. So fantastic job on doing that. But you're absolutely right. It's something that, um, how do I say this? So obviously you already spoken about like how the performance has been and things like that, and we as a team are extremely cognizant of it. Obviously, we try not to like talk too much about price action and things like that, because we try to ensure that things are as organic as possible. Because if you think about it, like are there ways to kind of improve this price action and make it seem like we are following markets and things like that? Absolutely. I mean, this is not like a very secret thing within the crypto space. You can make it happen. And like you said, when volumes are whatever they are, you can do it. But that is like no way for any sort of long lasting, organic, fundamentals driven sort of like price action or price movement. What we've seen so far is obviously like this downward trajectory, and like you rightly said, off late we've been like moving pretty much sideways in the market, some up, some down, and things like that. And what there are 100 reasons I can quote for essentially this stuff happening. We launched at a particular time. We 2 days after we launched, there was Israel attacked Iran, and markets fell, and we fell, and then 100 things. But what I will say is that all excuses aside, one of our biggest failures as a team, while we are extremely good at product, this distribution game that exists within Web3 to be able to kind of distribute your token is something that we realized late, a little too late. So essentially, what you have is two products. One is your token, and one is whatever else you have, right? Whatever else you have feeds your token, and then if the token does well, then you get the hype needed for people to feel attracted about your products, right? Like you said, price action and positive price action, basically, it becomes like this loop that feeds like a positive feedback loop. And that is something that we sort of like underestimated, and I think this happens to a lot of teams, because essentially when you launch a token, and what people don't realize, and only people who launch tokens will know this, is that you're essentially IPOing, right? And if you look at, you are going public, you are opening yourself up to like markets and things like that. There are ways to game the crypto markets because there is absolutely no regulation. But compared to, I mean, you can't game like more traditional markets in the same way. But the point here being that most companies end up IPOing in this fashion in the crypto space at a very young age. Like if you look at everyone else who does an IPO, they are years and years in, they have reached a certain place when it comes to like, revenues, their treasuries, their bank balances, the way their corporate structure, the companies themselves, the CEO, the co-founders, the other executives who are within the company, things around legal, things around all of these things are very mature, because it's only after you reach this level of maturity can you even think about doing an IPO. But here we have startups, who launch, and like I can take a contract today and put it up on Solana, and I'm suddenly a founder of a token, right? So there's definitely like some sort of like there's a game to be played here. It needs to be well acknowledged that you now have this product that also needs to be kind of looked at, and this is something that we've not done a great job with. And this is something that we feel like, now that we have this very clear edge and lead in terms of like the product, we now need to do the right set of things to be able to feed this into our marketing and distribution. And there definitely have to be like significant efforts that we'll have to put here. We already have our plans set out for the next couple of months, what we want to be able to do, and I think it's just a matter of executing on that. And I think once we do that, given the products that we have and things like that, like positive price action is to me like a given at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense actually, Mayur, because utility and long-term adoption are definitely very crucial. And like you mentioned, you are working towards things, and I feel there's a very big opportunity to bring more visibility to the project right now and in the times to come.
Yeah.
Because perhaps something that directly shows off the utility of maybe Send It or Gasless or the Arcana wallet to a wider audience. I feel once people see how seamless the experience is, the demand will naturally pick up, like you mentioned. So yeah, that's
No,
actually
exactly.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
So
one.
sorry. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
please, please. No, no, please, please.
No, I was just tagging along to those points and just sort of reiterating what I've just said more than anything else. I think this is a very important topic that we don't get to like talk about too much on a neutral sort of setting, because either we're doing it on our Telegram groups or with people on Twitter and things like that, and those conversations are not exactly like very neutral or constructive, so to say. So yeah, so definitely, I think the stuff that you said is extremely vital. But I just want to reiterate that like we've had opportunities to be able to kind of you know like show positive price action and things like that, but we simply decided not to do it because it is very, very important that in the absence of these things that you do to like create this sort of positive price action, then your price action is going to go down instantly, right? And then it just becomes this beast that you have to keep feeding, you have to keep feeding, and that's no way to build a business, right? So for us, it is very clear that we had to, despite whatever was happening in the markets, we had to focus on building out fundamentals, building out a product that will get used, has clear path to PMF, has clear revenue potential, so that once that stuff starts to kick in, and you don't then have to focus so much on like distribution on say the token side of things. So that's what we want to do: create that flywheel, give it that kickstart, and once we do that, I think it's just a matter of time.
I think we can relate with you here in a different world, but still very much, because back sometimes when the price action, the entire industry, the market caps are going up, we as a media startup, we see more views on X, we see more views on YouTube, we see more website clicks and whatnot. And when the market is kind of uh, shaky, we start seeing those numbers go down. And we know people who are in the same industry as us who kind of forge their numbers to show that okay, everything is well. But
Yeah,
we, on the other hand, if there is a dip, there is a dip. Everyone
yeah,
knows that. No, there are times when the industry is not at its best, and it reflects in Google searches, in YouTube views. It reflects, right? So I totally am on board with what your decision has been regarding the price action, because that has been our decision as well when it comes to uh, whatever the equivalent in our industry is.
yeah.
So
No,
and
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
another
like
very important point. Sorry, I'll just complete it. Very important point that I learned, as well as it got onto my mind, is whenever you're launching in Web3, you're launching two products, right? You're not just launching your product, you're also launching your token. And I think it has been, I'm sure it has been a great learning experience for you that you're gonna build upon. But I never thought of it this way till now. But yeah, very very strong quote from you today.
yeah, no. So yeah, a couple of things that you said there, I just want to quickly address. Like one is the best marketing for any Web3 product is a green candle. Nothing else. Nothing else comes close to it. So that is something that we learned late, unfortunately. Like product is product, uh, green candles are green candles, and everything in between is fugazi. So it's just about how do you like help these two things tie in together, and that's the secret sauce. And it's about everyone's own journey to kind of get to cracking that secret sauce. and some people crack it with no product, but very nice price action. And some people have great products but shitty price action. And it's all about like in like 5 years, 10 years from now, what's going to be the same? Because for me, this is my life's work, right? So I'm not like a 20-something-year-old who will be like, yeah, okay, it didn't work out, next, and things like that. This is for me my life's work. This is what I want to kind of end up doing, and I want to do it the right way. So that is the first point. And yeah, I think in terms of like the other thing is very clearly it is two products. This, I think there needs to be like much larger scale awareness, because now we're going to go into this bull market, and everyone's going to suddenly want to launch their token. Everyone who's been sitting back and not launching a token, we didn't care about what market we were launching into, because we needed it for our staking. Our staking gives our protocol security. Our secure protocol means that we can actually scale. So that's why we launched. When we launched, we didn't care about what the market was. We should have cared, now looking back. But yeah, this is going to happen, and lots of people are going to get in. And for some people, it will be a breeze, because they, as founders, they naturally are more aligned to the token side of things. But there are going to be so many people who are going to be like such product focused guys, and now suddenly there is this thing that they have to deal with, right? Like there's no attention, it's all an attention economy, and you're now 10 people are telling you you do this marketing, you hire these people and do all of these things, and then things will happen, and then they don't happen, and then you're like scratching your head thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do? And now all your focus moves away from product to all of these things, and it's a very slippery slope. It's very dangerous. I think there needs to be more awareness about what it takes to actually launch a token, and I think people need to find the right set of just basically assemble this set of people around them who can guide them through this process and take them through this journey, and help them not have to like learn from mistakes and things like that. Instead, just be cautious about the things to expect beforehand. And yeah, so that I think is a very important part, that I sincerely wish I listened to more people who were giving me this sort of advice, and I had more people to kind of keep sort of telling me this sort of stuff before we launched, so that we would have ended up in a probably a different place. But all the same, like you said, great learning experience. It makes you develop extremely thick skin, and I'm grateful for it.
I mean, yeah, Mayur, it has been a pleasure. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and you've answered all the questions so nicely. And like, it was a good time. The work you and the Arcana team are actually doing is genuinely very inspiring, and I'm personally very excited to see how you guys continue to push Web3 into the mainstream as well. Like simplifying UX is actually a critical piece, and I genuinely believe Arcana is on the right path to make that happen. And yes, wishing you and the team all the best as you take things to the next level. And maybe Arcana's next product could, even uh, help us sign a reliable striker. Because right now it feels like we're abstracting goals out of the game entirely. So yeah,
Yeah,
it has been a
yeah.
pleasure. Thank you, Megan.
No, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you
It
so
was a
much.
pleasure, and I like these set of questions. It was refreshing, candid. You didn't seem to care too much about you know uh, what you were asking and things like that. It was very nice, refreshing. All right, cool. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Please
Thank
take
you
care,
so much.
guys.
Thank you, Megan.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.